And we are live. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for the 12th episode of Women of Color and Confidence. My name is Amber Rose. I am your host, and today we have a very special episode of Women of Color and Confidence, where we are going to be speaking with most of our guests from season 1. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about what it is that we're looking to manifest with our own personal self-confidence as well as our businesses in 2021. I don't want to spend too much time introducing the show. I want to get to the meat and potatoes and these beautiful women who are here to share with you what they are manifesting. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of everybody that's here with us today, starting with Amber Brashears. Amber Brashears lives in New York, and she is a 3D computer artist. Her episode, we chatted about finding your own type of activism when we switched over from being fully in BLM in the streets and then figuring out how to bring that type of activism into our own lives in a way that made us feel good. Thank you so much for being here, Amber. And then we also have Alexis Watts. Alexis is the marketing director at the Aurora Town Center in Colorado. We were discussing how to prioritize culturally diverse arts in our individual communities when we recorded her episode. I'm really excited to have you here and hear what you have planned for Aurora this year. Miss Courtney Fullwood works in an oncology lab and is studying global community and behavioral health. During her episode, we talked about how to have more healthy representation of, or more representation of healthy Black people in our media, in our communities. Such an awesome chat and an awesome topic. Courtney, thank you so much for being here for our chat today. Crystal Crow is a social worker, and we talked about maintaining a positive self-image in mostly white spaces. I really loved listening to her journey of being in this professional social worker world while then transitioning into being a pageant queen this last year. Thank you so much for being here, Crystal. And lastly, we have Shannon Webb, who was episode number 11, the episode just before this one. And we talked about Black and plus size representation in the aerial arts. It was such a fun chat to talk about arts and body size. And especially as we're going into the new year, I know that body image is such a big topic around the new year with resolutions and stuff. So really good conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us, Shannon. And y'all are so lovely. I just keep looking at the screen and seeing all of your faces, and it just warms my heart to see so many beautiful Black women in one space. And this chat is going to be so good. So, you know, I wanted to talk a little bit about the experiences that we had in 2020. Of course, our past always has an influence on our future. So, and especially this last year, it was a roller coaster for a lot of us, a lot of big wins, a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of challenges. So I wanted to start by asking each of you, you know, what was the hardest part of 2020 for you as you were surviving, building your companies, building your social media platforms? Amber, let's start with you.
There we are. I would have to say the hardest part was juggling everything, juggling work and activism and self-care, sanity, you know, anger. Right now I visualize my sanity as like the Mac rainbow wheel just spinning, and like each color is like its own emotion, and it's just in a constant wheel. I'm like, you know what? I wrote it in 2020 and then just right on into 2021, writing it again. And I trust myself to be emotionally healthy when I am. So I'm just gonna write it.
How about you, Alexis?
I definitely have to agree with Amber. There was a lot of emotions last year, and I didn't expect in my 20s to be laid off from work. Um, and to see what I saw last year with the pandemic and with Black Lives Matter and the protest and just the divide in the country, didn't make COVID better. However, I felt like it made me and others maybe stronger from what we've seen, to be able to move on. I know when I was laid off, I was thinking like, what am I going to do? I can't pay my bills, but I somehow got up and started doing some freelancing and, my own company. And something told me to start looking for work again. And it worked out perfectly where I don't think I would have been ready for my current position if I didn't go through what I went through last year to really prepare me for how to be a stronger woman through life, just because I feel like everything was thrown at me at once.
Mhm.
Losing my dog, I mean, that I never thought I was going to cover a dog, but I cover a dog and it hurt. And it just happened all at once. But I believe that it was me becoming a stronger person in the midst of it. I just didn't see it at the time. But now that we're in January, I'm like, oh, okay, like I made it through 2020. I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have a job, things are good. But I know if something happens again, that there is no time to give up. It's all about continuing on and fighting on, making it happen. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sorry to hear about your pup.
Thank you.
Courtney, how about you?
Yes, sorry, I was unmuting myself. I would say the hardest part of 2020, I feel like we all touched on it bits and bits here. So if I'm repeating the same thing, I apologize. I would say the hardest part of 2020 for me was the rapid adjustment to change. I feel like we as a nation, but me mainly, I had no time to really catch all the balls that were falling down at once. I was like, oh, that's happening. Oh my goodness, now I'm transitioning to doing things online. I'm working remote now. And oh my goodness, I have to get a new car, So I felt like things just were happening so much where I didn't have time to really, deal with the changes, but I rode along the wave with the changes. And in addition to that, it was, that's one thing that I will say. I meditated a little bit too much sometimes because I wanted to keep my mind on track. But there were times when I felt like I was being punched at all different directions, but I had to remind myself and keep saying that, Courtney, this is a temporary moment. This is a temporary thing. All this is temporary. And I had to keep reminding myself to also be in the moment and have perspective on the changes that are occurring, because these changes aren't meant to break you. They are meant to build you up and give you strength and keep you pushing on to that next chapter.
Yes. Beautiful. I love that. Crystal, how about you?
Well, I don't really know what wasn't the hardest part of 2020. I felt like it was one disaster and crisis after another. But I think the hardest part was having to make tough decisions for myself and really knowing that like only I know what is best for me, and I can't trust that other people have my best interests at heart or are going to make the best decisions for me, and having to like authentically be like, okay, this is what I need and this is working or isn't working. And from jobs to decisions to plans that fell through, just really sticking with that and not letting other people's opinions deter me, and just, really embracing my truth and being authentic in that. It was hard because I feel like I had to do a lot of that alone last year. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, I feel you on that aloneness for sure. Shannon, how about you?
Oof. Hardest part for 2020, I definitely would say it's kind of like growing in spite of the intense amount of trauma that we've got going on. So it's just like a chronic amount of like things being thrown at you and like everyone else's circumstances. And I'm a person who's like hard empath. So when someone else is going through things, it just intensifies like emotions that I'm already having. And so I think for me, it's definitely just been like taking it all in and trying to still grow at a time where I think most people are not at the point where they can be doing more than just surviving, just trying to grow at a time where like that's not normal, because nothing has been normal about 2020. I just finished my master's and like graduations weren't normal. Thanks. It's just like it's been a long year, even though it went by so fast. And it's just like everything came crushing down, and like being able to still grow in that time has just been excruciatingly hard. And I'm glad I caught it at the end of the year. Like once September hit, I was like, all right, this is the time for growth now that I'm past just surviving. So
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part for me, at least.
Yes. Congratulations on that growth. I know, 2020 for me, I had a lot of inner battles where I felt like I was watching a lot of the people that I love and care about struggle, whether it was in their personal life, their financial life, with their health. And I felt on the other end of that for the first time in my life. Like I wasn't among the people who were having a hard time. My job actually like promoted me and gave me a raise right when everything with COVID hit. And I was like, this is really weird, because I feel like my whole life I've been leading, my whole life, my experiences have always been like, I'm on the side of struggle, I'm on the side of hardship. And when I finally wasn't, I actually had to like stop sabotaging myself, because I was feeling like, I'm reading a book right now where the author calls it being a low-key martyr, where you're just like, I'm doing really good, but I should be suffering. So I'm going to put a bunch of stuff in my way to make me suffer. And, then I had to really reconcile those feelings with myself. Like, hey, things are okay for you right now. And it's okay that things are okay for you right now. So rather than create all these challenges and these struggles for yourself, why don't you figure out how to pay it forward, do a project that you love, do something that is meaningful, so that as people around you in your community and the world are struggling, you can be energy brought to the table that helps alleviate some of that, instead of trying to be part of the hardship, right? So the hardest part of 2020 for me was really making sure that I wasn't trying to pull myself down, while at the same time the world was trying to pull me back up. And it's been an interesting journey, but I've had some beautiful projects such as this show come out of it. So I just keep focusing on the goodness that was and is ahead. So the next question I want to ask you is specifically about your self-confidence. I call the show Women of Color and Confidence, because confidence is really the focus of all of the work that I do, especially in the female community. But I kind of want to bring it back to, in that confidence, how did you, like, what did you do? What things did you engage? How did you keep your mind and your heart elevated in your personal self-confidence, or in feeling good about you as a person, as a woman, and then your endeavors, your dreams, and your careers? I hope y'all don't mind. I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I was gonna go around in the same path, but I'm like, I'm gonna let a couple other people's. Courtney, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can start off. So I would say, as far as growth in my personal life, as far as my mental health and it's just spiritual and emotional, I did a lot of words of affirmation, and I would sometimes jot them down on my phone, or I would listen to just like word of affirmation driving to work or driving to the gym, just because my biggest thing is sometimes I get caught up in, social media and the comparison and, wanting this or wanting to travel. I enjoy traveling, and that's been at a halt with everything going on, with safety first and health first, of course. But I do miss traveling. We all do miss certain things in our life through this pandemic. We're finding out quickly. Mm-hmm. And I am an extrovert, so not being able to be around people, that kind of did feel like it's sort of like, hurt my career growth, but also it didn't make me feel like I was progressing. I felt like as if I was stagnant. So my biggest thing that I kept trying to do was find different books to read to keep my mind on track, to be able to develop more socially throughout this process. And a book that I've been reading called Drop the Ball by Tiffany DeFoo. It's actually pretty good. And I've been just reading bits and pieces throughout this time frame, and just reminding myself that this is temporary. Like I think I say that so much right now that I even say it when I'm working out and I'm like, this is temporary. The mask one is temporary. This is all temporary. So that's my like motto that I've taken from 2020 to 2021.
I love it. That's actually, I mean, a really great motto, not just for something like a pandemic or, you know, BLM, but like, it's really, I actually had somebody else in a different like group chat that I was talking to say that one of his things is really dropping into like, this is a moment, but there's another moment and another moment. And so it's very similar to like, this is temporary and something else is always coming. How you handle this situation is how you'll be better prepared to handle the one that's coming right after it, because the one that's coming right after it is coming. So how do you handle this? I think that that's a beautiful, beautiful affirmation. Crystal, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I feel like the slowdown that kind of happened in March really forced me to do some healing that I was probably like putting off. And I didn't realize how much I was burnt out at my old job and struggling. So it definitely forced me to like look at that head on, and really look at like who I was living for and what were the decisions I was making. And I was like, really I felt like at one point I woke up, I didn't even know myself. And I'm like, am I doing this because it's expected of me? Or am I doing this because I want to do this? And so all of that like space and time from so many outside things really forced me to like examine like, what do I want to be spending my time with? Like, what do I want to do? And like, what hobbies do I want to cultivate? Like, the first probably half the pandemic, I didn't do anything productive. I just watched like bad reality TV. And then I was like, okay, well, this is going on for longer than I thought, and I'm gonna need to do something else. So really evaluating what I wanted and what I wanted out of my life and how I was gonna get there, and that I had to start like looking at me and what was best for me, not like looking to live for other people.
I freaking love that. I love that acknowledgement too of like, I think a lot of us, when the pandemic started, we were like, let's just take a break because this is crazy. And then we saw an end in sight, but then that end never came. And so then we were like, well, we expected this to last like a month or two, and now it's like dragging on. I actually had to call my success partner out because she was kind of stalling in her business, even in 2021. And she was like, I just kind of want to wait to see like what happens, you know, after the inauguration, or like, let's see. And I'm like, but we already did that. We had a whole year of that, you know, and you never know what's going to happen. And so putting yourself on pause for long periods of time, waiting for what may or may not happen, you can see that sometimes that's a little bit more energy sucking and damaging to our dreams than if we just kind of like put a little bit into it, into the unknown, really. Amber, would you like to go next?
So yeah, the beginning of the pandemic and the movement really rocked me. I was so angry that I couldn't function. And I was like, this is new, because usually I stay angry for like a day and I'm good. Like I don't harbor bad feelings. I don't, hold grudges or anything like that. So it was something else. And I said, okay, how do I continue to function? Under normal circumstances, I will try to find a reset. And sometimes that's removing myself from my immediate surroundings, just go outside, read a new book, create. I have to create to survive. Like that's that is who I am from top to bottom. Last year started out with Ariel. I am Ariel obsessed. And of course, with the pandemic, Ariel went away. And the school that I practice at, they started having conditioning classes online. So I went with that, and I've been doing that for a year. I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in.
Yes.
Yeah, being in good physical shape, being healthy, keeping mentally healthy, as mentally healthy as possible. Like going back to the tools that I know how to use to get myself back to some form of stasis, and then having to keep doing that. And then once the activism came in, and the whole ball of craziness that brought with it, I don't know, it's like all normalcy just went right back out the window. It was like, okay, let's look at things for what they are. Here are people who, are thrust together for a common goal. Drama, 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 anger, 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 anger. It's like, let's keep coming back to a center. Let's keep focused on the goal. And that's how I was able to, stay as sane as I could. But there are definitely moments where I was like, all right, I have no idea what's going on right now. So I'm just going to ride this out.
Yeah.
Because there's so many unexpected factors that popped up last year. And it was like, okay, this is the new norm. And what was odd was that it's everybody's new norm. Because it's usually just like you going through something alone and maybe relying on other people to pull you out of it. And now everyone's crazy. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Constant deep breaths, constant meditation. I just told a friend of mine the other day that I have her voice in my head and your voice in my head, Amber, telling me to drink water. I have a problem staying hydrated. I have a serious problem staying hydrated. And just reminding myself, like, hey, you might be out of whack because your diet is off, or because you're not sleeping. There was the whole sleep factor. Like, there were so many factors that you forgot about because you were so hyper focused on this thing and this thing and this thing, and everything was just so jumbled. And definitely disconnecting from everything. I think that's the beginning of any reset, is to just nothing, this stuff is not happening. Let me take my dog for a walk and hula hoop.
Yeah. I read somewhere today, someone posted on my Facebook that the way that they survived 2020 was making sure that they stopped taking on everybody else's shit as their own. And they just made a very big boundary around it. And it was much more easily a boundary respected by other people, and that they had the hardest time respecting that boundary because they've lived so much of their life taking on other people's stuff, and then realizing like this year was not the year for that, and I need to like not do that so I can survive. And that they had a harder time than the people they were asking to not do it. Their friends and family were like, we got you, absolutely, we understand. So that that boundary of like kind of like turning it off and hard reset is really beautiful. And it speaks so much to what Courtney said at the very beginning. Like, it really was just like one thing after another after another. Here's a new ball. Like, you're already juggling 6 things, and it's like, here's 10 more balls, and you're like, cool.
And I'm an empath too, so sometimes there's just nothing you can do about, like, you're gonna absorb all these different energies, and you have to have, like, you have to set hard boundaries for yourself, or else you're just gonna implode. So
Awesome.
It's a workout.
How about you, Shannon?
That's a hard one. I think for me, I think when it started getting the post like August or so, when studios started opening again, like for me, Ariel is my happy place. So like all of my everything is able to be put into one location when I'm there. So for me, like getting my own Ariel set up at home was like essential. And the way that some people like cling to their faiths and cardio and those things that like really bring them joy, that is for me. So I had to just be able to do what's best for me, and that included making a huge massive purchase to be able to like make it through until studios opened again in August. And then when studios opened again in August, like I didn't want to go. So I had no desire to like do any of the things that were what is my normal for me. I've been doing Aerial for like 2.5 years. And so for me, it is normal for me to train 2 or 3 days a week, and to be able to like go back to studios and like make those adjustments seemed like a lot to take on, even though it was better than just being able to do it at home or virtual. It was a lot to transition to. So just like really pushing myself to like go was really important for me. So for the most part, I usually do like Lyra, but aerial yoga is something that I really like push for once August and September came. Like now it's yoga twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week at home, because like I'm not going to make it if I don't find like me during this time. And so for me, a lot of the ways that I found confidence was literally just grounding down and be able to like tap into a little bit more of my spiritual side, and just like all of the things that make me the most happy were things that I've really pressed for most of the year. This year, obviously, because we were only like 6 days in, so all of this year. And then what's left of 2020 after August and September, when I got the chance to like really be able to commune with people who know what it's like to go without Ariel. For people who it's like their everyday, it's their meat and potatoes of life. For people who it's their job to do, it's one of those things where like it takes a lot out of you to not be able to do like your happy place. So
Yeah.
for me, it was just like a huge shift in like my confidence, is just to be able to like go and really find me in that time and be able to like do it with other people, even if it's social distance, even if there's only 3 people in a class. Like just being able to see my people on a regular basis just brought so much joy to me. Like that for me was perfect. And then with work and everything, like now that I'm work from home, I have a whole lot less excuses to not do it at home.
Yeah.
So that's been helpful, except it doesn't stop me from not doing it at home. So yeah, now that studios are starting to like safely open around the Raleigh area and such, it's a lot better. It just makes me feel a little bit more whole when I get to like do it with my people.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's good that you were able to kind of build that bridge between not being able to go to class, but still wanting to have your practice and your space at home. I just think it's so, watching people who do, like, I have a lot of performer friends and they're having that hard time too. Like part of their life, their essence is like putting on routines, getting in their costumes, going out and performing for people. And when that went away, it was like, how do we do it? And they're like, we're going to do it online. And even though it's not going to be the same, it's going to be something, so being able to find that bridge to get you from that, open to open again, I guess, really wonderful. I'm glad you had that opportunity. Okay, Alexis, your turn.
Kind of want to like go with what everyone else said already, but this is literally, I feel like we all have like the same year. But pretty much, so I had moved here like June of 2019, and my job, I had done marketing for 44 dental offices. So I was constantly driving or at chamber events or networking, and it became tiring where it was just like, that was the thing you had to do. Just always saying yes. I said yes to everything. Like, yeah, I'll meet you for this. Yeah, I'll meet you for that. And probably not interested in it, probably going for the wine, probably just want to go home and go to sleep. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. So when I got laid off, it was, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise because it gave me the time to actually meet friends. So I actually didn't meet friends until COVID hit. And my husband came home from overseas the week before lockdown. So all kind of worked out for me where I can actually meet friends and have like a social life, even during COVID. So I became more active, where I was like, I haven't been working out in a long time. Let me go join a gym. Let me go, at least when the gyms are closed, there's a trail across the street. Let me go across the street and just walk. And then walking led to jogging, to running, and seeing where I was last year at this time to where I am now, with being more social and being more active and saying no, like, no, I don't want to go to this networking event, or no, hey, I'm not able to do dinner tonight. And really taking a step back in life and appreciating it and not always saying yes. And I had learned, I guess taking care of myself and learning not to say sorry. That was like my biggest thing, was sorry about everything, like the smallest things. And now, if I'm running late, I say, thanks for your patience. I find different ways and different things to say, because I'm honestly can't be sorry about everything. And really just reevaluating my life, and like some of the other girls were saying, who am I, and getting back to that person, or maybe learning something new about myself that makes me a lot more confident. And just, I only haven't even been here for 2 years yet, and just seeing how I've grown just last year, and I've taken advantage of that time where I wasn't working. And when I went back to work again, I felt like, okay, this is your second chance. Like, you're not just this little small girl at work. Like, you're in a big role, like a big girl. Put your big girl hands on. Let's go. You've dealt with this. You can do anything now. So that was the positive
Yeah.
of 2020. So yeah.
That is so freaking awesome. I love everything that was shared here. And it was really interesting. I had all these grand plans for 2020 for myself and my business personally. And I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then when we all got shut down and I started working from home, and I realized that I was living in a very small place. So I felt like I was on top of myself all the time. And I actually was in the headspace when it first started. And for a lot of it, where I was like, I'm not going to push myself to do anything. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, you're surviving, you're alive, your fur baby is alive, like you're fine. Like, you don't need to be doing anything else. And I honestly did think, and I think, there was a good portion of us who were like, oh, it's going to be a couple months and then we can get back to things. And, as soon as like BLM started happening, I was like, oh, a revolution is happening. There's like nothing that's going to go back to the way that it was. And, being that confidence is like my life focus, passion, love, and everything, I was sitting there going, I'm confidently not going to do anything. I'm going to be fine with that. And then I got to the point where I was like, I no longer feel confident in not doing anything. This isn't actually like supporting my energy, my life purpose, my heart passion. And so I started doing little things here and there. What really kept me going, to be completely honest with you, starting this show and really focusing on Black women and their confidence and their successes and their passions really was a huge confidence boost for me. Because between making it its own YouTube channel that now has subscribers and making it its own podcast that has subscribers over many different platforms, I was like, damn, this feels good. This is great. Like, these are the things that actually boost my confidence. Thank you. That boost my confidence and kept me going. And I know I'm one of those people very, very randomly who, I like to be productive in a way that serves other people. And it does boost my confidence when I have students or clients or even people that are in my success pod or like my business circles where they like look at me and they're just like, thanks for that comment. And I'm just like, my confidence just got like 19 boost points right now. So serving my community has been one of the biggest ways that I have found confidence in action. And, I actually put my own kind of like, my mental health, I think, is always pretty freaking strong, but like everything else, I do a morning workout and I committed to doing that morning workout and not focusing so much on how much I was eating or how much I was drinking or how much sleep I was getting, although I was getting a lot of sleep, I do sleep. And just really focusing on, can you do your morning workout? Can you show up for your passions? And those two things really got me through 2020 and kept my confidence not only in myself, but in my projects and my offerings at an all-time high. I don't think I've ever felt this good about myself or what I've been creating before. And that also feels so freaking weird coming out of a pandemic year and a revolution year. I'm like, why do I feel so fucking good about everything that I've been creating? But, it's those little things, the little things that you choose to care about and be consistent about. And then just like you said, Alexis, those things that you're like, I'm not going to worry about having a pitch perfect diet right now. I'm not going to worry about taking on other people's stuff right now. Like, those little things of saying yes and saying no really helped contribute to my own confidence this year. Okay, so let's talk about the new year. We're in a new year. I know it's a bit of a crazy day today, but I asked all of you what your visions were for yourself, your passions, your businesses in the new year. And I would love for you to share a little bit about the vision that you hope to have over the next 12 months. Shannon, do you want to start?
Sure. I think it's something that we talked about in our last episode, but yeah, just for me in 2021 is definitely just being better than I was in 2020. So I am definitely at the point where I am open to growth and change, where I am not someone who likes change at all. I've been in school for a really long time for undergrad, for my master's, and my career field is directly related to my degree. And I came out realizing that this isn't what I wanted to do. So for me, for 2021 is definitely doing things that serve myself rather than for other people, and not sticking out things that I don't want to do. There's no reason I should. I am super young. And so for me, even if I weren't, I just don't want to ever be stuck in a place where I'm not being my authentic self 100% of the time. And for 2021, it's definitely looking like I am going to just make all the changes that I should have been making for years. So that's all I want to do in 2021 is just be like the best version of me and just being a little bit better than I was last year and having the freedom to just push past my comfort zone on a regular basis. Like not just being better than yesterday and taking the opportunities when they come to not just be in my comfort zone because I'm really good at that. I hate change and I'm good at what I do and I'm fantastic at my job. But if it's not something that's going to make me happy long term, I definitely don't want to stick it out. So this is the perfect time, like fresh out of like my master's program, to just make that leap into finding what I want to do in 2021.
Yes. My like soul is jumping around into my body right now because authenticity is something that I teach alongside confidence building and boosting. So I'm going to ask you, is there like one or two things that you think speak to your authenticity that's like super special, Shannon?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, I definitely want to think that like being able to serve others in a capacity outside of like just every day would be fantastic, like career wise. So I've considered lots of options in terms of going back to school, just so that like I don't know, every day, like if I'm going to spend 8 hours in an office, I at least want to be doing something that like is genuinely me. And so before I worked in clinical research, I was a pharmacy technician and I absolutely love being out in the field, like healthcare wise. And just getting to like talk to my patients every day was just like me at my maximum, like authentic self, is just getting to be like involved with these people who like we're the last stop on their train in like terms of healthcare for the most part. And so we get the brunt of like everything, but just making our patients like a little bit happier on those days where they find out their insurance doesn't cover their medication, just taking that extra mile was something that like I really enjoyed about my job, is just bringing a little bit of smile to their face, knowing that like they've been to the doctor's office, they're frustrated that they've been there for 3 hours, and then they get to the pharmacy and their medication's not covered. Just like that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, you really took the time to call my insurance. It's just like, it just brings me pure joy to be able to see
Yeah.
like a patient's face during that kind of thing. And so I definitely want to be able to find like that version of myself that's going to pay me just as much as my current job. And that would be like the most authentic version of my life, is being comfortable in terms of like finances, but also being able to like really experience joy on a daily basis.
Yeah. I had a teacher growing up who called that type of connection energy alchemy. So like being able to, or like emotional alchemist, he could be an emotional alchemist, right? Where you see someone who has this like emotional level, they interact with you, and by the time they leave, their emotions are completely changed. And you come in, you're like, I'm this emotional alchemist, I'm going to change whatever's going on in your energy right now, let me help it, right? So I can totally see you doing that, and I'm gonna put some good manifestation energy behind that for you.
Please
And
do.
that job that pays you to be an emotional energy alchemist. Yes. Crystal, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think for 2021, I am just like focused on showing up like the healthiest, happiest, like just the like the inner certified baddie that I know I am. Like I feel like I'm just like spent so much time like I don't know healing and working through old shit last year that I'm just like ready to fully show up like who I am this year and like put my health on the forefront. Definitely, and like take the time for things that like I've been putting off. Like I personally hate going to the dentist, and I like voluntarily went to the dentist at the end of last year. So I feel like that set a good tone. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what this year brings, honestly.
That's so awesome. I also like to put off things that are adulting with my body. I'm just like, do I have to? It's like, well, nobody's here to tell you to, but maybe maybe it's time.
Yeah.
I feel you on that though. Alexis, how about you?
In the nicest way possible, I want to be selfish this year. And that's because I feel like for my whole life, I've been a true giver, where I give time, money, things, whatever it is. And you don't always get it in return, or if you do, you're just tired from giving too much of it. And I caught myself last year, even during COVID, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is not, no, I don't have to do this. And being like, a wife and career and daughter and cleaning and cooking, whatever it all is, it becomes tiring. So this year, I definitely take care of myself more by going to the gym, getting my nails done, getting massages, going to get glasses of wine, whatever it is, whatever I want to do. And I think that's going to help me be a better me, and not always be a better me for someone else. But I do want to definitely help students out, or even professionals who just need a mentor, because I've been there, and I'm sure like a lot of people last year, I'm thinking about those students who were graduating from school who didn't get internships, or who didn't really get to learn hands-on last year, and they need that mentor to really help them figure out, this is what I want to do. Do I want to do something else? And at least give that kind of time but do it in my time, and not just do it because I have to. It's more of, that's something I definitely want to do for someone this year. But yeah, definitely, just be happy and take care of myself, because I can't take care of anyone else unless I put myself first. So yeah.
It's really beautiful. And honestly, there are those times where you got to recoup your energy by being a little bit selfish, and I think it's really beautiful that you are taking an intentional focus with something that you're passionate about, rather than just like, here's all my energy and time and attention and love. You can be like, let me scoop that back up and then like have mine, and then focus on something that I'm like, oh, I like this, I'm passionate about it. And you'll find at the end of the day, when you reserve that energy and put it into something focused, your results and outcome are so much more fulfilling, and they mean so much more to the people that you're connecting with. So I'm super excited to hear how all of that goes for you this year, and I will be touching base with you about that. Sounds awesome. How about you, Courtney?
Yes, you all hit on so many amazing things. I'm going to repeat some of them actually.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to just piggyback off of Shannon, being my authentic self. And then in addition to that, just Alexis needing that self-care and self-love and appreciation for oneself, because like we all just said here, but we sometimes get lost in helping others and giving to others, that we forget who is the other important person. Us. We are. And I know this past 2020, I got swapped up in just trying to be there for family, friends, and trying to be there for everybody else. And, meanwhile, I was just so tired. I felt like I was sleeping more than enjoying the day to day. So for 2021, I hope to continue to just grow within self-love, self-care, and self-appreciation for myself, because if I'm not happy, how can I make somebody else happy? Like, my partner or my friends or my family members, if I'm not happy within myself and building my happiness. And just another takeaway for me, I want to continue to do well in school and get an internship, because like many of us that we're trying to get internships. And with the pandemic, it's hard to get into hospitals if you're going into the healthcare profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just hope to continue to grow with that, and continue to grow within keeping that positive self-talk going, because so many times when, that one thing, there was this like meme, and it was said that, we always focus on that one thing, but we forget that there were so many other great things that happened. And I was like, man, that is so true. You got so upset because that one thing went bad that you forgot that you're alive today. You got to your destination safe. You have a full tank of gas in your car. You have a roof over your head, because homelessness has skyrocketed. We have a roof over our head. We have our tummies full at night. There are so many people in this world that are going through food insecurity, and in our nation right now as we speak, that are not even eating, in our backyards that are not even eating. So, I sometimes get lost in that moment of being upset because one thing didn't go right. Court, there have been other things that have gone well for you today. So I'm just need to keep that in perspective and remember and remind myself that perspective and mindset, and a positive mindset, is key in order to break down the barriers that we put up for ourselves. Thank you.
You just touched a little something inside of me. I feel like you touched a little something inside of all of us. Oh my God, so beautiful. Thank you for that. So, and a reminder that I needed to hear very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Amber twin.
Well, that's a great segue because in the past year, anytime I've had those like moments of deep gratitude, it's always out of nowhere. And sometimes in that space where I'm like, oh my God, just in a spiral, whatever spiral. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. I have a business. I have a gorgeous house. I live in the wilderness. I have a fiance. I have a dog who I adore. Life is good. And I feel, despite everything that's going on, I feel privileged. I feel deeply privileged. And whenever I take that moment and really get in the moment with it, everything else just dissipates. And it is such a reset that I forget about, because you get it. And I'm so heady. And I feel like so many of us are, but like, yeah, if I don't monitor my brain, it's gonna go on this little path and it's gonna fork off and just, and if I don't monitor it, it just goes on. And yeah, so going back to what so many of you were saying, which is something that I was very happy to go into 2020 with, is the idea that we have to be 100% in order to give even 1% in the best way, So coming into this year, I want to continue to be that good version of selfish and to grow. Like I don't set New Year's resolutions. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. But the one thing I will do at some point throughout the year is ask myself, how have I grown in the last year? And if I haven't, why not? Just being super dirty honest with myself, which I am. And I'm thankful for that, introspective eye to say like, oh, you're not being your best self today. No, you're PMS. No, you want to fight. You want to fight, so don't talk to anybody. Just go lock yourself in the room and wait until that passes. And I want to, is I feel like just growing and being healthy and being whole within, everything else just falls into place. I definitely want to continue to get physically stronger. I am dying to get back to aerial. Like, I haven't.
You need to go hang out with Shannon. She's got a rig at her house.
No, we've been building a rig forever. It's not there yet. And yeah, there was like a month where we could go back to aerial, and we actually did it in a barn. It was really cool, outdoors, social distance, but it it lasted until the weather got too cold. So I really missed that. At the height of my bliss, I'm making music. And when I'm not at the height of my bliss, I can't make music. That's just the way it works. So I would like to get back to that. I would like to get back to my super happy creative self that is just reciprocating loveliness through creation and absorbing my own creations. That's what I miss. And so that is my personal goal. Work is work, whatever. and yeah, I feel privileged to be able to say like, my business just kind of did its own thing last year, and it's probably going to continue to do that. And I'll work on that. And yeah, I would like to be super happy Amber again, happy Yay. And whole Amber. So, and those moments come, and when they come, I try to grapple onto them. I'm like, okay, how do I stay here? I gotta stay here. And then things happen, and sometimes it's just the days are definitely blending into each other. I work from home, at home all the time. I go to the grocery store at this point. Oh, yeah. And for the first time in many years, I'm going to be spinning fire tomorrow.
Yes.
With our I won't call it our activism group. I'll call it our post-activism group. So I'm looking forward to that because there are a bunch of cool artists in there. And lastly, we have started a newsletter. So I'm excited about that. No more activism. Now we just want to educate the community. And that feels really good. Yeah. And we're just sponges right now. We're like, just give us information that we can just funnel into the Black community. Let's build from the ground up.
Yes, beautiful. what I loved about all your responses is that it has this essence of personal awareness. Like, how am I today? How am I showing up? How can I be more authentic? How can I give myself in a way that feels good to me while also reserving my energy for what is important to me? And I think that that's such a beautiful message, that personal awareness in the new year. I'm going to speak for everybody in the world right now, but I think that we lost a lot of that personal awareness because we all just kind of became like statistics and numbers and regions and states and poll numbers and things like that. Like, it felt like for most of the year, whether it was from COVID or BLM protests or the election, that we all kind of just became stats. And so, taking the opportunity to break away from that and take on your individuality, your personal awareness, and to take care of yourself in this new year, it's such a beautiful theme. I'm going to carry that with me quite a bit. My vision for myself, like I said last year, I very much put down a lot of like my physicality things and kind of started working on stuff that was like tactile projects, like things that I could write, things that I could record, people I could talk to, like, how do I get these things done? And I set aside a lot of like my personal, personally what I wanted for like my body or my well-being or my mental health. And aside from my yoga studio, which has been a saving grace, my online yoga studio, I really did nothing else. So my personal vision for this year, I still want to grow, obviously, the confidence column and women of color and confidence. I'm so excited to begin talking to more people and bringing our stories to life. But my main focus for this year is to focus on everything that I was like, I don't give a shit about that last year. So, personally, I had a loved one that died years ago, and I gained a bunch of weight, and I call it my death weight. I've been carrying around this death weight. So my goal for this year is to really like shed that, get back to like a body that I feel comfortable in, to focus on eating in a way that like serves my energy rather than serves my emotional state, which is also something that I do. And it's been really interesting. Like Amber, for the longest time, I was like, fuck New Year's resolutions. And I've actually come to really love them, because over the last 2 or 3 years, what I've realized about New Year's resolutions is that we get so much external pressure on what our New Year's resolution should be. It should be eating more vegetables, or losing 10 pounds, or reading a book every month, or starting to meditate. And it's just like, okay, these are great suggestions, but the reason that people don't succeed at them, or the reason that they hate New Year's resolutions, is because they're doing things that don't align with what's supposed to make them feel better, feel good, or have a betterment in their own personal life. And when I started looking up the definition of resolutions, it's literally like to make a change that benefits you, to make a change that like helps you feel better about yourself, or to like implement something that you've been wanting to do, not that the world tells you to do. So I've really taken this like internal deep dive every new year, because my birthday is actually in June. So I celebrate my new year then. But I do like the collective energy of the new year that comes in our country. And so I try to like scoop that up, and I'm like, what do I want to do? So I did make my own visions for like my vessel, my mind, things like my morning routines and my evening routines, and really like honoring them as sacred time and space for me, my body, my brain, my soul, my heart. So my big visions are actually for like this what you see right here. So I'll be going in with those. Well, I just have one more question for you, and we're gonna make it short because we're gonna wrap up here in a second. I know all of you have kind of touched about it in your last answer, so I don't need to have anything too in-depth. I'm curious, when it comes to your self-confidence in 2021, what is 1 or 2 new activities that you will do to keep your confidence up as we roll into the new year? Alexis, I want to hear your answer.
It's hard. You said new activities.
Yeah, something maybe that you haven't done before, but you're like, I think this will help me with my confidence and my energy.
I think probably like reading and listening to podcasts that's not just for work purposes, but more for educating myself on life or just more for entertainment. I think I've lost myself. I've been reading before, don't get me wrong, but it's been years since I picked up a book or listened to a podcast like for myself. And I think I want to go ahead and do that. Gosh, I don't know any other activity yet, but knowing me, I'm probably going to find something this year that I will enjoy and that I can say that I chose this for my happiness. And that's going to make a positive, impact for me. Maybe someone else, who knows, but I'm looking forward to the year. I'm always saying, we'll see what happens. And if I can get through 2020, I can get through 2021.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I got chills. How about you, Amber?
So this one is kind of huge for me. My fiance and I are working on a comedic web series, and we've been kind of throwing it around for some time now, but I have just started to actually focus on my character and write for her. I haven't written in 20 years.
Wow.
Because I had a huge block against it from losing family, like death trauma. And I haven't forced it. Like, it'll come back if it comes back or not or whatever. And in like the past couple of weeks, I've kind of found it again. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fun. And of course there's that, there's that inner like self-sabotage. It's like, the whole thing is falling apart. No. Are you sure you want to do this? Like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute, this is actually happening. So yeah, that's gonna be a focus, and it's gonna be a fun focus, and I'm looking forward to it.
So excited for this.
It's gonna be really out there too.
I freaking up. Well, you know me, I like stuff that's out there.
Yeah. I think this will be right up your alley. It's gonna be focused on sci-fi fanatics.
I like it. I love it. Thank you for that. Oh, so much joy. How about you, Crystal?
So my kind of new thing that I kind of recently just started is I've noticed that I've definitely always been someone who like bites my tongue or kind of like holds back or like doesn't do, like exactly what I want to do. And this kind of like almost game I've been playing in my head is when I like hesitate to things, I ask myself like, what would the most confident version of myself do? And then I just do that thing.
Yes, say it again. Woo!
So we're gonna see where this game gets me by the end of the year.
What a beautiful game. Oh my gosh. Freaking love it. How about you, Courtney?
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of touched on it, but I just hope to be able to continue, but gain the importance of not apologizing all the time. When Alexa said that, I'm like, I need to stop. What am I sorry for? For breathing? So, that's not really what I say, but you know what I mean? In my head, that's what's going on. So I need to practice that. And also, in addition to that, find different things to keep my mind positive, because we don't know what 2021 is going to bring, but we'll see. I hope it continues to change and keep moving forward. But, I said Happy New Year's in 2020, all excited. And I was like, woohoo! Then I was like, wait, they said we're staying in the house? They said we got to put on a mask? I'm getting maskedy? I found out all these words I didn't even know. So, I'm excited to see what 2021 brings me. I hope it brings me some fortune. I really do. But if it doesn't, at least I will still say that I have my health. And we as, women and Black women, we need to continue to keep protecting each other. That's what I do know that I want to continue to bring with me to 2021.
Yes. Yes. More of that, please. I love that you said fortune, because fortune is actually my word for 2021. And it's so funny. Like, I just keep every day since it found me, but every day since it found me, at least one person has said it to me. And I'm like, this is the right one. This is the perfect one. And I agree with you. Uplifting and supporting Black women is like top of my list this year. Like, not only through this show, but like, yes, please. Okay, Shannon, how about you?
Well, my new thing for 2021 is just being a little more transparent. I think anyone who's ever like seen my like aerial Instagram, it's very it's an authentic version of myself, and I like to put that out there, like what my journey actually looks like in my personal life as well as my aerial life. But like we live in like a really terrifying society of like photoshopping and like editing and just like looking like a version of yourself that if someone saw you in the street, they would never recognize you. And I want to be done with that for the rest of my life. So I decided that I'm definitely going to take that on as like the no editing of photos outside of like, oh, maybe this picture's a little dark, and no more like shapewear. And if I want to wear a sports bra to aerial class, then I'm going to wear a sports bra instead of wearing a tank top. Like I have this amazing body that can do so many things. Like I don't know why that at any point in time people are not as comfortable with other people showing that, but it's not me. So if I want to wear a sports bra and I want to wear a pair of like sweatpants with my sports bra instead of wearing a tank top, then that's what I'm going to do this year.
Yes. Yes. I applaud you. I cheer for you. That body love is what's up. And it's so funny because my New Year's resolutions are a lot about changing my body, and people are like, your body is great. And I was like, I didn't say my body wasn't great. I just said it's going on a journey. That's all I said. That's so beautiful. Thank you all so much for sharing those things. The couple new things that I'm going to implement into my year, it took me a little bit of time to try and figure out. I wanted it to be something substantial plus influential, but also, the thing that happens with changes is if they're too big, they get harder to sustain over time. And I used to be a health and fitness coach, so I know firsthand exactly how that can backfire in your face. So, as I was trying to think about how I could better support Black women in the new year, like obviously this show is going to grow. It's now being listened to over 5 different countries, which I'm super excited about, and I hope to expand it in the new year. But I was like, how can I specifically for Black women, like really serve myself and serve them? And so I've made the commitment outside of my, I of course have coursework that I have to do. So a lot of reading from like textbooks and things like that. But I've made the commitment to only reading Black authors, specifically Black female authors, so that I can start incorporating more Black women voices into my life, into my head, so that it reverberates out. I feel like between, growing up in a white family, going to schools that were predominantly white, I've been indoctrinated with a lot of white authors and a lot of men authors. And so this year, one of the changes I'm going to make was one Black female author. All of my free reading will be Black authors. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what their words sound like more in my head than what I've already had in my head, but also being able to see the difference between what I've been reading for the last 30 years and how that kind of like shifts and changes, and really enveloping myself in Black authors over the years. So I'll still be here. I'll be here. The confidence column has turned into an advice column where people can write in and ask me questions about anything that stands in the way of creating their authentic, most confident self. So I'll be covering topics not only about confidence building and boosting, but things like imposter syndrome, battling the comparison game, learning how to build boundaries, and then of course, really tapping into authenticity and feeling confident in doing that. So I'm excited to be able to not only teach about these things, but to start getting questions from the people that listen to me and follow me, so that what I'm teaching and sharing actually relates to what people are struggling with. So that was a shift in my business that I made this year that, like, honestly has been so freaking fun. I love teaching classes and I love doing lectures, but when people ask me questions, I'm just like, yes, here's the answer. Like, I love having that for them. So between my business and my intellectual mind, those are the 2 changes, or the priorities in my self-confidence that I am making this year. And I'm really excited about them. Real quick before we hop off, I just want to say that Mariah Cordova, she put a comment on our Facebook Live that says, beautiful and strong women, all of you, this world needed your positivity today. And I just want to, I know, right? I just want to wrap up by saying I'm so appreciative to the 5 of you for showing up for our chat today. I know that everything that's happening at the Capitol has been chaos and weird and crazy. I thought about canceling our recording for today, and I decided that I was going to wait to see how all of you felt about it. And it made my heart swell with such pride and happiness that you decided to show up for this really important conversation today. Part of the reason that I created this show is because I was sick and tired of Black women being barreled over, being buried in the conversation, being erased because white people decide to act a fool when their emotions aren't aligning with what it is that they want, as we are really witnessing today. And so to have you each show up to speak your truth, to call in your manifestations for 2021 here on Women of Color and Confidence, I just want to say I'm honored. I thank you so much. I have mad respect for each and every one of you, and I really am grateful to have met you and connected with you, and to have you as the season 1 of Women in Color and Confidence. So thank you so much. You guys can't hear it, but they're clapping.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. It's my passion. And I'm like, every time I think about what 2021 is going to be for this show, I'm just like, woo-wee. I can feel it emanating out into the world. I can feel it touching Black women, not just women that are on the show, but women that are listening. I've already gotten a lot of great feedback from non-people of color, non-women of color, who are just like blown away by the stories that you all share. So, being here, you all are seeing each other for the first time, but I just want you to know that you are touching people's lives with your stories and your words. And that's something that you should feel really good about too. Really good about too. Okay, thank you so much to everybody. We actually had quite a few views on the live today, so I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up live. Thank you to the 5 of you for showing up and honoring yourselves, honoring this show. We are going to be back in 2 weeks from now for the 2nd episode of January. I am going to put a link to our newsletter in the comments of the show, so that if you want to have advanced information about who our guests are, who our guests were, how to find us online, how to listen to us on Apple or iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, will have all of that in our bi-weekly newsletter. So I want to make sure that all of you are informed about the amazing guests that we are going to be having in 2021. Until then, have a great, happy new year. Thank you for being here, and I will see you all soon.